Andrew, good morning. That's right. That newly identified officer is seen on police body camera video deploying a taser at Tyree Nichols during that initial traffic stop. We are learning more about him this morning and other first responders that night who are now fired. And a warning, the video is graphic. Memphis police announcing two more officers on the leave of duty as probe into Tyree Nichols' death continues. One seen here trying to taser Nichols. Officer Preston Hemphill was on scene for that first January 7th confrontation between officers and Nichols, but not the second time when Nichols was tackled and beaten. After learning Nichols was found nearby, Hemphill heard saying, Hemphill now on leave pending an investigation.
I think that all of us should pay, along with the white officer that was tasing my son.
5 Memphis police officers fired and facing second-degree murder charges. Attorneys for 2 of them say their clients intend to plead not guilty. The New York Times reports those officers appear to beat Nichols with a baton at least 3 times and punch him in the head at least 5 times, which ABC News has not independently verified. 3 Memphis Fire Department personnel involved in treating Nichols also fired, and 2 responding Shelby County Sheriff's deputies now relieved of duty pending investigation. Nichols igniting police reform talks in the Senate, with Republican Lindsey Graham proposing officer protection from lawsuits while allowing departments to be sued.
We owe it to all of the families who've lost loved ones in these horrible acts of brutality to pass a law that will help ensure justice and accountability in our policing system.
We should have simple legislation that we can agree upon, that has been agreed upon in the past.
And Memphis police tell ABC News those 2 additional officers were not initially named because they were not fired. The department typically identifies officers relieved of duty after an investigation ends. Andrew?
Justin, thank you. According to the New York Times, the initial police report said it was Nichols who assaulted the officers and even listed one of the 5 former officers charged with murder as a victim.
A retired lieutenant in the Air Force has pleaded guilty to keeping classified information at his home in Florida. The plea deal identifies the former officer as Robert Burcham and says the material contained top secret data on Defense Department sources and methods, including details about Air Force intelligence gathering.
Now to South Carolina and the trial of once prominent attorney Alec Murdaugh, charged with killing his wife and son. His lawyers are suggesting there may have been 2 shooters, while new audio reveals what Murdaugh said he was doing the night of the murders. Here's ABC's Eva Pilgrim.
For the first time, jurors are seeing a new interview Alec Murdaugh gave to police days after his son Paul and wife Maggie were shot to death on the family's property.
She was a wonderful girl, a wonderful wife. She was a great mother.
Murdaugh at times seeming distraught, telling police he was sleeping inside the house, then woke up and texted his wife as he was leaving to visit his mother. Prosecutors saying cell phone data places him on the property at the time of the murders. Murdaugh calling 911 about an hour later.
It was just so bad. I did it so bad.
Murdaugh then tells investigators Paul was missing the same type of rifle used to kill Maggie.
Paul had a 300 blackout, and it got, he says it got stolen. And it's been gone for some time.
The state has not recovered the murder weapon. It comes as the defense put the state's evidence under the microscope. Both victims were killed with different guns, and a crime scene investigator admitted she could not rule out the possibility of 2 shooters.
One explanation would be 2 shooters. Yes, no. But one explanation of this data would be 2 shooters. One explanation, not B, but one. Yeah, not one. But it is a reasonable explanation.
And the defense suggesting the crime scene was contaminated.
Should the police be walking through the scene? Do we know what other evidence they may have destroyed?
I have no idea.
That's right, we don't.
The defense really hammering how this investigation was conducted, pointing out that a search warrant was issued at the time of the murders, but the family's home wasn't searched until months later. Eva Pilgrim, ABC News, New York.
Eva, thank you. In Southern California, an arrest in a string of road rage incidents involving a Tesla driver. The suspect is charged with assault with a deadly weapon. Police say in several cases he smashed other cars with a metal pipe. At least 10 people claim they've had encounters with him.
Time now for a look at your Tuesday weather.
Good morning. Travel conditions across our nation's midsection through today and tonight. The ice storm that started yesterday is going to continue from Dallas to Oklahoma City, stretching into Tennessee as we head through tonight. And look at the forecast.
In Dallas, zoo officials are puzzled after a series of strange events with an endangered animal found dead, others missing, and fences vandalized. ABC's Lionel Weiss reports.
This morning, Dallas police and zoo officials investigating a mysterious string of break-ins and animal escapes after employees found more animals missing early Monday. The Dallas Zoo confirming workers found its emperor tamarin enclosure slashed, with 2 of the monkeys gone. Police say an intentional cut was made and the animals appear to have been intentionally taken from that enclosure. It is the 4th suspicious event at the zoo in just a month.
It is our belief that this was an intentional act.
On January 13th, a clouded leopard named Nova went missing. Officials say that enclosure was intentionally cut as well. Police using drones and infrared technology to search for the big cat, local neighborhoods on edge. Nova was found 7 hours later near her original habitat. Later that day, a similar cut was found in the Langer monkey's enclosure, but all were accounted for. And days later, Pin, an endangered lappet-faced vulture, was found dead with a wound described as suspicious.
And we're also really disturbed by the idea that someone might have intentionally done this.
Pin had been at the zoo for 33 years. The zoo says only 6,500 lappet-faced vultures are alive today worldwide. In response, the Dallas Zoo is now stepping up security and limiting access to some of the animal enclosures overnight. Dallas police and U.S. Fish and Wildlife are helping investigate. A $10,000 reward is now being offered for information leading to an arrest. Andrea?
Lionel, thank you. Coming up, the video as a boulder comes flying through a woman's house.
Also ahead, celebrating Shirley from Laverne and Shirley. You remember actress Cindy Williams.
A 5-foot by 5-foot rock crashing into the second story of Caroline Sasaki's Honolulu home. She had just walked into her living room.
Basically, I'm in shock.
She and her family are still moving into the newly rebuilt hillside home. They've only been there about a week.
I refuse to look at the video, so I'm not sure how close, but everybody's telling me, I'm lucky and, being, God is with me. And yeah, I'm thankful.
The boulder plowing through the home's cinder block wall, slamming into a glass door, crossing the living room, and finally ending up in a bedroom. Along the way, it also smashed into their car. The giant rock possibly set in motion after days of heavy rain. But community members are worried, and authorities are investigating after other incidents of boulders coming down in recent days. They point to a nearby development project and the excavation of the mountain behind Sasaki's home.
So glad she's okay. The development owner denies his project is to blame.
Tributes are pouring in for Cindy Williams, who played Shirley in Laverne and Shirley. She's being remembered for her intelligence and her big sister energy. Will Gans looks back at her career.
I'm just trying to get to the door.
For 5 decades running, Cindy Williams' name was synonymous with laughter.
Don't hit your heart.
She was the Shirley to Penny Marshall's Laverne, the duo getting their start on a 1975 episode of Happy Days.
Hey, Fonzie!
Their spin-off, Laverne and Shirley, from 1976 to 83, and by its 3rd season was the most popular show on television. Her family saying she passed away after a brief illness, saying in a statement, she was one of a kind, beautiful, generous, and possessed a brilliant sense of humor and a glittering spirit that everyone loved. Cindy Williams was born in Van Nuys, California in 1947. Her love for acting taking root in high school. She even auditioned to play Princess Leia in Star Wars once upon a time.
When little R2 has been safely delivered to my forces, you'll receive your reward. You have my guarantee.
But it was that chemistry with Penny Marshall that skyrocketed Williams to sitcom stardom.
Schlemiel, Schlemazel, Hot and Pepper Incorporated.
The duo revealing years later that some of Shirley Feeney's uptight antics were based on real life.
I need to go through my purse, my real purse.
I would organize her purse because I couldn't even understand how she could live like that.
Look at what's at the bottom of it. That's Shirley to me.
Penny Marshall died in 2018, and this morning, Hollywood is paying their respects to both women. Rosario Dawson sharing a video of the Laverne and Shirley opening sequence, writing, "Singing this song with so much gratitude for both of you ladies. Absolute gems, united again. Rest in paradise, Cindy Williams." Cindy Williams was 75 years old. She leaves behind 2 children who said in that statement overnight, "May the laughter continue in everyone," because she would want that. Thank you for loving our mom. She loved you too, Andrea.
Our thanks to Will for that beautiful tribute. Coming up, the Boy Scout living outside for 1,000 consecutive nights in Minnesota.
Plus, the daughter of the Philadelphia Eagles head coach steals the show.
Dancing is everything.
Head coach Nick Sirianni took his 3 kids to the post-game news conference, and his daughter Taylor did her best to imitate her dad while he answered questions. Take a look.
You know, each game's a little bit different, but it was great to set the tone there and get the lead, right? And get the lead and put them behind. Taylor, stop it. Taylor, stop.
The NFL's Twitter account posted the video, writing, "Taylor Sirianni is a whole mood," and we agree.
Yes.
Next, if you were expecting to retire after last night's Powerball drawing, we have some bad news.
Nobody won last night's $613 million jackpot, but the good news is tomorrow's grand prize climbs to $653 million. And next, the Queen of Clean is giving up on tidying up.
Marie Kondo spent years showing us how to keep our homes orderly and uncluttered, but now she admits her own home has become a bit of a mess. She tells the Washington Post that her priorities have shifted since the birth of her 3rd child.
And Kondo says it's more important to spend time with her kids. Good for her. Well, next, a game of hide and seek that went way too far.
The boy hid inside a shipping container and ended up being shipped 1,600 miles. Authorities in Malaysia found the 15-year-old in a container that had traveled from Bangladesh. He had locked himself inside. Thankfully, he's okay, and he's headed home. Not in a shipping container this time. And finally, the Boy Scout sleeping outside for 1,000 consecutive nights.
Isaac Ortman's family in Duluth, Minnesota challenged him to sleep outside just for fun. Isaac enjoyed it so much, he's been sleeping in a backyard tent for nearly 3 years, even in minus 38-degree cold.
Always add more layers in the winter to get warm, but in the summer, there's only so many layers you can take off to get cooler.
So he recently slept in a snow shelter that he and the Boy Scouts made, but hopefully it makes it through their housewarming party.
No fires in that igloo to keep it warm.
We're staying indoors and checking the top headlines next.
Tyree Nichols' arrest by Memphis police claim Nichols started to fight the officer charged and is dictating what's seen in the video. 2 more officers have now been suspended, and 2 EMTs and a fire lieutenant who responded have been fired.
More than $5 billion in COVID relief money may have been awarded to fraudsters. The money was supposed to benefit small businesses, but a watchdog says it was given to applicants who apparently used wrong Social Security numbers.
A new grand jury is reportedly hearing evidence in the investigation of former President Trump's alleged hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. Sources say former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker was among the first witnesses. Trump has denied any wrongdoing.
Today's weather, clear but very cold. From the Rockies to the Midwest, a dangerous mix of ice, snow, and rain will make for dangerous road conditions from Texas to Tennessee and Ohio, and mid-80s today in South Florida.
And finally, one special day for a little girl named Jasmine.
She celebrated with her entire second grade class. For a second grade class in Alabama, yesterday was Jasmine Day. For Jasmine, it was the day she would also excited her classmates who came dressed and ready for Jasmine Day, wearing shirts that showed they, together, formed the village that keeps the Brown family going.
So many people that just support us, and they say they never could do what we do, but they are helping us along the way. So it is truly a village.
Jasmine's classmates had Jasmine Day marked on their class calendar. She could ask any of them how many days until the adoption, and they'd have the right answer every single time.
I love how she says adoption means that she'll never have to leave this house again. Oh.
Their voting rights. Call 1-888-60.
Police in Louisville to identify the remains discovered Monday afternoon. We got some freezing rain in Oxford.
More direct ask to the legislature, but first, a personal commitment to keep fighting for full elimination of the state income tax. As for the direct request,
I am calling on the legislature to pass a Parents' Bill of Rights this session.
Reeves referenced schools not requiring pronouns be used that
fail to correspond with reality.
As part of that discussion, he railed against some ideas surrounding transgender young people.
Counter those who want to push their experiments on our kids.
Public safety request focused mostly on the capital city, calling on the legislature to add funding to Capitol Police for another 150 officers and equipment. As for access to health care, the governor thinks the state should reform certificate of need laws and strengthen the pipeline of medical professionals.
I urge the legislature to think outside the box when it comes to improving Mississippi's healthcare system. Don't simply cave under the pressure of Democrats and their allies in the media who are pushing for the expansion of Obamacare, welfare, and socialized medicine.
His final call to action to lawmakers?
To establish a new pro-life agenda that helps make Mississippi the easiest place in the nation to raise a family.
He'd like that to include everything from child care tax credits to reduction of adoption backlogs and updating child support laws. Courtney Ann Jackson, WCBI News.
State Senator Chris McDaniels qualified to run for lieutenant governor. He's facing incumbent Delbert Hosemann in the Republican primary. McDaniels served 4 terms in the state Senate. He also has run unsuccessfully for the U.S. Senate twice, including a heated primary race in 2014 against Thad Cochran. Wednesday at 5 p.m. is the deadline for candidates to qualify for this year's state, county, and legislative races. Party primaries are August 8th, with runoffs, if necessary, on the 29th. The general election is November 7th. A tough contender for Governor Tate Reeves in the 2019 Republican primary isn't running for this election. Mississippi Supreme Court Chief Justice Bill Waller will not be a 2023 candidate for governor. However, John Witcher will challenge Reeves in this year's primary. In a developing story, there's fear a body found Monday afternoon in Louisville might be a teenager missing there for 3 weeks. Railroad workers near South Church Street and Railroad Avenue came upon a body in a wooded area by the rail yard. The victim was wearing hunting coveralls and white shoes. Sadly, 16-year-old Montavious Goss is still missing. Louisville Police Chief Sean Holdiness says he appreciates the awareness of the railroad workers.
I just appreciate the initiative of somebody seeing something and saying, hey, let's go look at that. And then they immediately called our investigators at the police department. It's a death investigation, and we're, which can be anything from foul play to a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Police say there was no identification on the body. A murder trial in Oktibbeha County is entering day 2. Johnny Harris is accused of killing Elbert Vaughn. The incident happened on Montgomery Street in June 2020. Vaughn died about 2 months later. Jury selection began Monday morning, and the trial could take most of the week. Surveillance video caught a suspect or suspects involved in a number of in Tupelo. They broke in and stole from businesses in the Barnes Crossing and Crosstown areas on Saturday. If you recognize anyone in these pictures, or if you've got information, call Tupelo Police or Crime Stoppers of Northeast Mississippi. If your tip leads to an arrest, you could be in line for a reward of up to $1,000, and you can report anonymously. Tupelo Police are looking for this person who was involved in a credit card fraud case. It happened at North Gloucester and McCullough Boulevard in Tupelo, January 6th. If you know who this is, call Crime Stoppers at 800-773-TIPS or use the P3 Tips app. The death of Tyree Nichols in Memphis has started a conversation about the actions of police officers. Takia Cummings spoke with Columbus Chief of Police Joseph Daughtry about what his department's learning from it.
The death of Tyree Nichols after a violent encounter with Memphis police is a topic of conversation everywhere, including area police departments.
Situation. But I trained, my kids have been trained since they were children how to interact with police because they grew up around police. You know, my daughter knows what to say. My sons know how to respond when they're pulled up, when they're pulled over. So those are conversations you have to have with your children.
After so many incidents like this over the years, officers like Columbus Police investigator Darnell Madison find themselves having to prove themselves to the public.
A lot of times, because of the history that law enforcement has in this country and even in this community, is that there isn't the respect level isn't always there. So in this community, they respect the person more than they respect the badge.
And with a badge on or off, at the end of the day, it's all about who you are as a person.
We have to love on it in order for them to start being able to see a different avenue and us in a different light. Because if we don't, and the only time they see us is when we're arresting somebody or when something bad happens, then their perspective of law enforcement is always going to be negative.
Investigator Madison is the founder of I Am Mentorship. He says to show teens there are still good people in the world. People in Lowndes County were able to have a conversation with their sheriff over a cup of coffee. Eddie Hawkins was open to input about issues in the county. He was also collecting more items for a food drive the sheriff's office is doing this month. Hawkins says events like this help him and his deputies use their resources more effectively.
I can't do my job and fix problems in the community if I don't know what the problems are. So being able to talk to the community goes hand in hand with doing my job. So I'm very pleased that we have such a great turnout today and able to spend time with some of the citizens from the community and learn what the problems are in the community so that we can address them head on.
Sheriff Hawkins also gave a tour of the Lowndes County Jail for supervisors and other community leaders. Next on Sunrise, a record low dropout rate. How Monroe County schools are standing out at keeping students on track. Stay with us.
Almost 2-1 over the
areas on the road, don't hit your brakes, just let off the gas and try to coast to a slower speed.
And who you just heard from there, Bo Moore, he also says that having an emergency kit in your car is important. That includes a flashlight, a blanket, and a portable charging source for your phone. Having today, several local school districts are delaying school this morning because of the weather. Coffee. The road crews are working on the roadways to clear and melt the ice. Several school districts in North Texas closed and canceled activities because of the weather. Arkansas also dealt with some winter weather recently. Take a look at this. Roads in Benton County were covered with ice and snow Monday, and this trucker had a bad day. Check this out. The Benton County Sheriff's Office called road conditions slick and unsafe. Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders activated the Arkansas National Guard to help until the road conditions improve. And take a look at this one more time. This will happen if you're not careful driving during icy road conditions. The Weather Channel actually sent us this video. This is out of Fayetteville, Arkansas. You see the icy roads left some wrecks at I-49. This morning, airports across the country have canceled more than 1,000 flights. Many more are delayed as parts of the South battle freezing temperatures and winter weather. Dallas-Fort Worth canceled nearly 350 flights. Dallas-Love Field scrubbed over 200. About 4,700 flights are delayed across the country. Southwest scrubbed more than 500 flights. That's about 12% of its entire schedule. American dropped about 200 flights. This counted as many parts of the country issued a winter storm warning. Happening overnight, Mississippi's Governor Tate Reeves gave his State of the State address. He talked about some key issues he wanted to focus on. He touched on several topics like higher wages, a better high school graduation rate, and a $4 billion surplus. He even used part of his speech to talk about anti-transgender legislation and the state's abortion ban. He also renewed his call to eliminate the state's income tax and how legislators can do it.
And we can do this without raising other taxes. You've heard me say this before, but I'm going to keep saying it because it's that important. Government doesn't have anything that it doesn't first take from somebody else.
Healthcare was also a major topic in his speech. The governor also said that Mississippi should boost healthcare by cutting bureaucracy, increasing medical residency programs, and relying on technology. He also talked about healthcare, a major theme in Democrats' speech as well, to the State of the State. The address was given by the current Public Service Commissioner and Democratic gubernatorial candidate Brandon Presley. Presley recorded his speech inside of a shuttered hospital that used to employ more than 200 people immediately. He said that 38 other rural hospitals are in danger of closing because Reeves has refused to expand Medicaid to people who work low-wage jobs and don't provide health insurance.
In the Mississippi Delta, there's only one pediatrician for every 4,000 kids. It's no surprise that we lead the nation in the deaths of children under the age of 1. How is that pro-life? What does all that tell you? That Tate Reeves is only pro-life until you're born, and then he's done caring about you.
Brandon Presley also discussed how Mississippi must continue to fund health care, education, and the police. He also mentioned getting rid of the state tax on groceries. New this morning, a new partnership will help researchers figure out what medical marijuana products. Patients who participate can record their experience in an easy-to-use app. The reporting system will allow data collection on purchases, use, and patient-reported outcomes, while also protecting the patient's privacy. The non-patient identifiable data will be uploaded for scientists at Ole Miss to research. This morning, Jackson's mayor is against a bill that would create a separate court system.
The claim is that the Republicans and the Democrats have hijacked the government as alleged against the 9/11 hijackers of the airplanes that caused a little insurance recoverable damage back in 2001. But I was born here, here in Genocide Central. And yeah, the claim is against the current, not the political system, not the political system, but the people who are defrauding the political system. That's the claim.
Use extra money.
McDaniel is running once again for lieutenant governor. McDaniel says he plans to run for the Republican nomination. The lawmaker from South.
Now you're going to hear that there's a black terrorist with an Iranian name who's attacking the political system that he claims to have loved his entire life. But in reality, I'm just one man that can see the target. I can see the target. Just one man. And I'm an American man who knows that all liability for protecting your right to hit the target and my right to life rest in the hands of the powers that be, who have a history of refusing to admit defeat even at the cost of an innocent American life.
Mississippi becomes the third Republican in the race, hoping to
I'm not talking about the Vietnam War. I wasn't there.
unseat GOP incumbent Delbert Hosemann. McDaniel first gained attention in 2014 during his unsuccessful bid to oust Thad Cochran from the U.S. Senate. Happening today, some Mississippi voters will make their way to the polls today just to settle a runoff election. They are set to decide who will represent them in.
There is no requirement under the laws of the United States for an individual to be a Republican or a Democrat. So, if you find yourself being harmed by the policies of Republicans and Democrats, your individual power is exponentially greater on a balance of equities in a court of law under the jurisdiction of the United States Constitution. And the longer you are deprived of the civil liberties necessary to issue a legitimate grievance on the Republicans and Democrats, the longer a nation is deprived of the enforcement rights of the Constitution, unfortunately. In short, what that means, you don't have a constitution now because of the Republicans and Democrats' desire to end my life through murder and genocide.
You wish there was a word.
I believe this was a targeted one. So far, police say they have not arrested anybody. This morning, approximately 100,000 hens are dead after a large fire at an egg farm in Basra, Connecticut. This happened over the weekend. You can see the smoke from the scene here behind me. Firefighter.
Don't forget to watch the video attached so that you can see who's been hired to protect my property. Listen to what they think a Republican or Democratic policy could or could not be.
There's arrived Saturday to find a 50-foot by 600-foot operating chicken coop on fire. We're told that crews from several surrounding departments came out to help, with more than 100 firefighters responding. The Department of Agriculture said
this is not encouragement for anyone to die. This is encouragement for you to prevent death by exposing the attempted murder streaming to you live at this very moment. Save a life. No matter whose life it is, just save a life and find out who he is.
hens died in the fire, but they say this will have a minimal to no impact on the price of your eggs. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. We're told all employees are safe and that no injuries were reported. Right now, 524, you're getting a live look in Jackson. Capitol Police have identified a suspect accused of murdering
A socialist government is reviewing this footage at this moment. That socialist government is fully aware. I don't give a damn. I don't need rescuing by a socialist government. Thanks, but no thanks. I got capitalist money, and the girl on the phone talking about policy, if you click the little video, I got capitalist money. And the girl on the phone just caused injury to my capitalist money. So I don't need your socialist opinions. Thanks, though.
delivery driver in Bellhaven. Police say this man, Darren Shannon, is wanted for the murder of Corey Price. Price died on November 2nd while delivering food to a Bellhaven home. 3 juveniles are already facing charges. Shannon is considered armed and dangerous. Anybody with information about where they can find him should call Capitol Police. Here this morning, a group of lawmakers is backing a bill to specify the Mississippi legislature is subject to the state's open meeting laws. We're told the bill would prohibit the House Republican caucus from conducting closed-door meetings. Republican Senator Jason Barrett says he believes the government should be transparent. Republican members of the House meet regularly in closed-door caucus meetings where policy and legislative strategy is sometimes talked about. Barrett says the House Republicans' decision to meet behind closed doors had nothing to do with his decision to file the bill. This morning, Jackson's mayor says that legislation that would create a separate court system run by unelected judges in part of Jackson is racially motivated. Mayor Chokwe Lumumba says the proposal to create a separate court system for legislators outside of the 80% black city reminds him of apartheid, which is a policy of system of segregation. The bill would create a separate judicial district within an area around downtown Jackson, where many state-owned buildings are located. The Chief Justice of the Mississippi Supreme Court would appoint the new court's system's judges.
Can see you choosing not to save a life. Save a life. Quit playing. These are not your lives. These lives belong to a great unseen power that procreates. Yes, sure, there's a way to monetize that. But don't be stupid. Stop. Just save one life. Just start a trend of saving lives.
Representative Trey Lamar introduced the bill. Happening now, Mississippi U.S. Senator Hyde Smith is pushing to pass a bill that would stop the U.S. Department of Defense's proposal to start the Green New Deal, like requirements on federal contractors. Hyde Smith is an original co-sponsor of the Focus on the Mission Act. This would prohibit the Defense Department from requiring contractors to send in information relating to
No human should be required to say that to another human.
direct and indirect emissions of greenhouse gases. Hyde-Smith says the proposed bill would add costly burdens to people who work every day to provide the equipment and services needed by the men and women who defend our nation. Happy now, local police could use your help figuring out who this masked bandit is, what they say he did, and how you can help them track him down is coming up. And Happy now, students in our area are getting to learn the best ways to handle their money. This morning, here with this high school did to teach them this valuable lesson.
And after heading out in Oxford, definitely seeing some soggy roads this morning, but that's one of the places that are still under that winter weather advisory. Could we still see any of that wintry precipitation as we're heading through the rest of your Tuesday?
WTVA 9 News at 6:30 p.m. exclusively on ABC WTVA, covering important news where you live. Live coverage of local news. Join me, Alyssa Martin, with meteorologist John DeLucic in the WTVA 9 News Severe Weather Authority, keeping you and your family safe. Every day to be on WTVA 9 News at 6:30 p.m. Live, local, late breaking.
It's 5 a.m. and you've tried every pillow trick you know. Yet, you still wake up with crippling pain and zombie brain. It's time to break your sleepless cycle with Nuzzle, the NASA-inspired pillow that provides zero gravity support. The secret is thousands of nanocoil fibers. Each one pushes against gravity to gently support your neck and cradle your head for a feeling of plush weightlessness. Plus, Nuzzle is the world's first pillow that has 2 adjustable inner layers that adapt to how you like to sleep.
It is so super soft and supportive to my neck and back.
And here's the coolest thing about Nuzzle. It's made from NASA-inspired phase change fabric. When you get hot, Nuzzle automatically responds by cooling itself off. You can get your Nuzzle pillow for just $99.99. But wait, when you use the code on your screen, we'll give you an instant 50% discount. That's just $49.99. Call or log on at trynuzzle.com.
Now, there's a black baller under the guise of a Juliet Montague that is under orders from the American Bar Association not to save any lives. Now, that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that the American Bar Association, one of the industries that we call the most corrupt in the United States, is giving orders to the entire public, and the public is following those orders. Now, we know it took attorneys to litigate and prosecute and promulgate the Constitution, the rules that are there. But it wasn't just attorneys. There were people that went out and worked the ground, that dug in the ground and made things grow, that helped write that thing. So, and they didn't really like the abogados. So take that however you will. I'm just not going to limit myself to a constitution that was not limited to one industry. It just wasn't the bar and its black baller that called all the shots.
Oh.
And a $4 billion surplus.
Live, local, late-breaking. This is WTVA 9 News.
Good morning, 5:30 at the time. Looking live in Oxford right now. A lot of our areas have been seeing some rain here lately. Outdoor this morning, Chelsea, what else should we keep in mind?
Yeah, most of what we're seeing is just that rainfall as we're heading out. That's from Coffeyville back over towards Tupelo, northern Itawamba County. seeing some heavier rainfall. Now, where we are tracking a little bit of that wintry mix is actually starting to taper off, but mostly just up to our north and west. Now, the
got high with, walked up to his window wearing a mask and armed with a bat. The victim then broke out Fitzgerald's front drive-by window. That's when Fitzgerald and the victim got into a fight. The victim ran off and Fitzgerald chased him with his car. Police say that Fitzgerald then explained that he tried to slow down the victim when he hit him with his truck. This morning, 2 men are facing charges right now. This is after a traffic stop in Prentice County. The Mississippi Highway Patrol stopped these two, Walker Reynolds and Charles Strickland. Strickland is facing charges for possession of meth, a Capias warrant, and an alias Capias warrant. Investigators also arrested Reynolds, who you see there. He's charged for possession of meth with intent and enhanced with a firearm and possession of a weapon convicted by a felon, rather. The drug court also placed a hold on Reynolds because of the new charge. He recently pled guilty to his new charges. He's getting a total of 30 years in prison. Strickland's new charge will go to the next grand jury. This morning, a woman is facing charges out of Oxford after they say she tried to shoplift from a business. Police responded to a business on Jackson Avenue to take a report for shoplifting. They arrested Jennifer Shepard, who you see here. She's charged with 2 counts of felony shoplifting and 1 count of false pretense. A judge set her bond at $15,000, but the Mississippi Department of Corrections placed a hold on Shepard. At 5:34 this morning, we're following a developing story out of Winston County. Louisville police are now opening a death investigation after they recently found the body. Railroad workers say they found the body around 12:30 Monday afternoon. Workers say they saw white tennis shoes in the woods and later found out that it was a young black man. Police found a gun there as well.
We haven't identified specifically, but there was identification on the person.
That's all I got, folks. I mean, you heard it here first. State reserves, Tate Reeves, the $3 billion they got backed up here at the court up here. The reserves for the state of Mississippi that got backed up at the court up here. He's already said that government don't exist unless it takes some. You heard me? Government don't exist unless it takes some. So he come to take your mamas, come to take your babies, come to take your houses, come and take your neighborhood, and he gonna build him a road over to his house. It's gonna be a good road because it's gonna be made out of good old flesh ashes. Ooh, let me my eyes big so I look like I popped out on crack. He gonna scare y'all. A reminder. Happiness. I don't know. I've been to hell. Happiness can exist anywhere, even wherever Tate Reeves or State Reserves $3 billion backed up at the courthouse. Even where that exists, happiness can exist. Goodbye, Miss Francis. That's terrible. That's terrible.